Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's Life Sciences lesson. My name is Sina Sekhere, and this lesson is brought to you by the Free State Department of Education in collaboration with Pagama Research and Development. Right. So, as per topic that we discussed last week, we are continuing with the topic. We are still discussing human response to the environment. However, today the focus is going to be on the eye and the ear. So I'm looking forward to having this lesson with you, and let's get on with it. So before we start, let's check what is it that you need to learn at the end of this lesson. So those are our lesson objectives. So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to outline the structure of the human eye and the functions of the different parts. Then you must be able to define what is binocular vision and its function. Then you should also be able to describe the process of accommodation, very important, and pupillary mechanism. So those are the processes that are happening with your eye. And then you must also be able to outline the structure of the human ear and the functions of the different parts, and also describe what is hearing, or how does our ear help us with hearing and balance. Remember, we come up with these lesson objectives. We do not just decide on them on our own. So these were all taken from the exam guideline. Then we're going to start with the eye. Remember, we are still responding to the environment. Last week, we were doing the human response. We checked the nervous system, but now we are doing the eye and the ear. How does our bodies, or how does our eyes help us to respond to our surrounding environment? So when you see this diagram of the eye, you can look at the person sitting next to you, can see their eye moving. They are able to see me because of the eye. So how is all this information interpreted? But before we start with that, let us take a look at the detailed part of the eye. Right. So this is what was taken from the exam guideline. Then you have the external part of the eye. When you are looking straight into the eye of the person sitting next to you, what you are seeing is the external part. What is external? Something that is on the outside. So you are seeing the outside part of their eye. So what is it that you can see? So everything that you can see is on the external. So the first thing that you can see are the eyelids. So the eye is protected by the eyelids. You see here, this part over here is what is protecting the eye, that enables it to shut and close. So those are your eyelids. And on the eyelids, you find the eyelashes. Maybe some of you ladies there, you are wearing the mascara on your eyelashes. So that is where you put your mascara. They are called eyelashes. And then the eyelashes are attached to the eyelid. That is the one that is protecting the eye. Now, these eyelashes, they are not only good for mascaras. They also help our eyes to be protected from foreign particles. Have you ever seen that if something is in your eye or is coming towards your eye, you shut your eye very quickly? Or if there is some dust, it can be trapped on your eyelashes. So the eyelashes play a very important role in protecting your eye from those foreign particles or small particles like dust or anything that is not wanted in the eye. Then the eyelashes also help in that regard. Then you can see the colored part of the eye, which is known as the iris. Look at the person sitting next to you. Tell them what is the color of their iris. So the colored part of the eye, if you just look straight into that person's eye, then you see the colored part. That is called the iris. Now tell them what is the color of their iris. Some people have blue, some have green, some have brown, some have black. So every time when you think of the iris, think of the color. It is the colored part of the eye. And then just in the middle of the iris there, you are going to see, so this is the iris, which is the colored part of the eye. And then in the middle of the iris here, you see there is an opening there. That opening is called a pupil. A pupil is the opening that is surrounded by the iris. Now, then from that person you can see the sclera. The white part or the whiter outer covering is called the sclera. So just to go through these labels again of what you can see on the external part of the eye or on the outside. External means outside. Then you see the eyelids. Remember we say they protect the eye. On the eyelids you see the eyelashes. These ones that protect foreign particles from entering the eye. And then you see the colored part, which is the iris. And then on the iris there is a small opening there, which is called the pupil. And then surrounding the white part is called the sclera. So that is what you can see from the person sitting next to you on the outside of the eye. But there are parts that we need to see that are on the inside, meaning the internal structure of the eye. Let us take a look at the internal structure of the eye. For you to study these labels, remember, they may seem intimidating. There are a lot of names that you have not heard of when you were doing grade 1 or grade 2. These are new names for you in grade 12. You need to be able to study the eye in an order. I would like to say study it from the outside, then moving into the inside. So you can keep track of the paths rather than just studying the paths randomly. So we're going to start with the most outer parts going to the most inner parts. Right. So we're going to start with our cornea. So if you see here, you will see this is your number 1. Where is the cornea? The cornea is this part over here. I don't want to color it because then if I color all of them, it's going to cause you confusion. I will just number them. So trace where the cornea is here in the front. And this cornea, when you move towards the back, it changes its name. The very same layer now, when it is at the back, becomes the sclera. So I hope you see now, it becomes the sclera. The sclera is now towards the back. But if it is in front of the eye here, we call it a cornea. And then just underneath the cornea here, you are going to find a fluid-filled medium. So here, we will write it number 3 here. So number 3 is your fluid, just underneath the cornea, which is the aqueous humor. We will talk about the aqueous humor and the other fluid, which is the vitreous humor later. Or I will also tell you about all the functions. Now I just want you to trace the paths. Right. So number 3 is your aqueous humor. And then from your aqueous humor, let us go to this part here. These muscles over here. You see this one? This is the colored part that we were talking about. So this will be your number 4. The iris. The iris are these muscles here. We say they give the eye their color. And then remember we said on the iris there is an opening here. So this opening is called a pupil. That will be your number 5. So we are coming into the eye. We are still coming into the eye. Then once you are done with this, you come across this big part here. This big one, this oval shaped part is called the lens. So this will be your number 6. So it is called the lens. We will talk more about the lens and what it does and how is it structured. Then the lens is kept in position by the suspensory ligaments. You see what is attached to the lens here. You have the suspensory ligaments there at the top and here at the bottom. So the suspensory ligaments are the ones that are attaching your lens, or they are holding them in position. So your suspensory ligament will be your number 7. So if we can trace, we started from the parts that are coming in. And then after this, on your suspensory ligaments, you also have your ciliary body. So your ciliary body, you find them on your suspensory ligaments here. So ciliary body with the suspensory ligaments, they hold the lens in position to keep it there, because if it was not of those ligaments, the lens will be moving. Right. Then from there you can move backwards. Backwards now, you're going to find another layer which is called the choroid. Choroid now is when you move away now from the ligaments, now going to the back of the eye again. It is surrounding the eye. It is the choroid. It's filled with blood vessels. So that one is the choroid. That will be your number 9. And then underneath the choroid is your retina. So retina will be coming just underneath your choroid. And on the retina, you find two things. You find the yellow spot and the blind spot. So that is on the retina. And then between here, all this space here, the hollow space, is filled by a fluid called the vitreous humor. So the vitreous humor will be your number 13. Then we will talk about the medium of how is the vitreous humor and how is the aqueous humor and what are their functions. And then the last part will be all this information needs to leave the eye. After all these parts have worked together to form an image, they all need to go to what? To the brain. They are going to leave through the optic nerve. Then the optic nerve is your last part. So I think by writing these numbers here, you are able to even trace how light is going to pass through the eye until it reaches the retina and then go to the brain. So just to recap, you have your cornea in front. Under the cornea, you have your aqueous humor. The cornea also stretches. When it goes to the back, it becomes the sclera. Then from the sclera, you have the aqueous humor there. Then you have your iris, which is the colored part. Between the iris, the small opening, which is the pupil. Now, from that small opening, it opens into the lens. The lens is held together by the suspensory ligaments. Suspensory ligaments have ciliary bodies. From the suspensory ligaments going to the back of the eye, going in this direction, you find your choroid. Underneath your choroid, you find your retina. Your retina has your yellow spot and your blind spot. And then you find the fluid-filled medium. And then that is called the vitreous humor. And then from the vitreous humor, you have your optic nerve leaving the eye to the brain. So those are your parts. Now, let us check at their functions. What roles do they play? We will start where we all started. The cornea. Remember, the cornea we said is this part. The cornea is the front part here. And remember, the eye is covered by a membrane called the conjunctiva. The conjunctiva is the membrane covering the eye or protecting the eye. So the cornea here, it is transparent, it is curved, and it is found where? In front of the eye. So the first part that you're going to come across on the eye is the cornea. It is curved, it is transparent, and it is found where? In front of the eye. What is the function of this cornea since it is transparent and it is found in front of the eye? Its function is to allow light to enter into the eye. So you need light. You need it to be transparent so that it can allow light to pass through. So the function of the cornea is to allow light to enter the eye. Then another function is to refract the light rays which enter the eye. So it's going to refract the light rays which enter the eye so that they can be focused on the retina. All these parts work together to form an image at the end. So we are done with the cornea. Let us come to the sclera. Remember, we said on the very same line of the cornea, when it goes to the back of the eye here, then it becomes the sclera. So what does the sclera do? The sclera, unlike the cornea, it is not transparent, it is tough. It is white inelastic layer that covers the eye towards the posterior. The posterior is the back towards the back. So remember, we said this one, it covers the sclera covers the eye, but it is inelastic, meaning it does not stretch. It is tough. It is inelastic. Inelastic means it does not stretch. Stretch. Okay, please excuse my handwriting there. Stretch. It does not stretch. So it is inelastic, it is tough, it is white in color, and you find it where? Towards the back of the eye. Then the function of the sclera is to protect the inner parts of the eye. Look at its position. You see the way it is positioned. It is able to do what? To protect everything that comes underneath the eye. Everything that is here is going to be protected by the sclera. And also, it plays a role in maintaining the shape of the eye. You need your eye to be roundish in shape. So that roundish shape of the eyeball, the sclera also helps to maintain that shape of the eye. Then we are done with the sclera. We come to the front now. Again, remember we are moving in order. The next layer is going to be your aqueous humor. Your aqueous humor is a fluid that gives shape to the cornea. Now, do you see the cornea is a bit curved? We said it is curved. So it is curved because it has fluid behind it. Now, this fluid, because it's in a small space, this fluid here, it gives the cornea its shape. So it also supplies some nutrients and oxygen to the eye or to the cornea here. So you need this aqueous humor here to give the cornea its shape and also to supply it with nutrients and oxygen. So this fluid is very important. And how do you remember this fluid? I know sometimes when you are asked in the examination, you can confuse the names of the two fluids that we are going to talk about, which is the aqueous humor and the vitreous humor. The aqueous, when you start the letters of the alphabet, they start with A, right? So you can remember to say the first one, the first fluid is going to be the A, the one that starts with the A. So it's the aqueous humor, the one that we find just right under the cornea. That is your first one. That is your first fluid, so that you don't confuse it with the vitreous humor. Then you know the vitreous humor comes later. V in the alphabet comes later there. So you will remember those two fluids by the first fluid is your aqueous humor behind the cornea, and your last fluid is the vitreous humor, and then that is the one that you find in that hollow space. Right. And then you come to the choroid. Remember we said there is a space that is filled with muscles here, just on top of the retina. So this one is the middle layer. Middle layer, because the top layer is the sclera, the middle one is the choroid, and then the inner one is the retina. So the middle layer is a continuous with ciliary body. So it comes from here, from the ciliary bodies. It has so much blood vessels. So these blood vessels are going to provide the eye with nutrients and carbon dioxide. Remember, the choroid, you're going to remember it by looking at it. It is the middle layer. And mostly, in most diagrams, it is going to be black. The dark one is going to be dark. Why is it dark? Because it contains so many blood vessels. And then it is in the middle. The top one is going to be the sclera, and then it's going to be the choroid, and then the inner one is going to be the retina. So that's how you are going to distinguish between the three layers that we find of the eye. Then let's come to the retina. The retina is the inner layer of the eye. It contains the photoreceptors. If you forget this name, you can just say it contains the rods and the cones. The rods and the cones are the photoreceptors that enable you to see light or to form an image. And then it is a site for which an image is formed. If they ask you what is the function of the retina, you are going to say it is the site at which an image is formed. So an image cannot be formed anywhere on the eye, but it is going to be formed where? On the retina. The retina is the innermost layer. But why? Because it has rods. If they ask you why, you will say because it has photoreceptors. What are the photoreceptors? The rods and the cones. So it is a site for an image, and it also helps to convert the light stimuli to impulses. So because it has those photoreceptors, they enable that light or the stimulus that entered through the eye here. Okay, let's take it here to the retina, to be converted into impulses, because the brain or the optic nerve can only interpret impulses. They need to be converted into impulses. So those are the parts that we have there. We are not done. Continue with the other parts. Then you have your ciliary body. Remember we said the ciliary body goes together with the suspensory ligaments. Those ones that hold the lens in position. Those muscles, these muscles here. They have a ciliary body. Mostly it will be represented as a dot or some smaller nyana circle. So the ciliary body, it contains the ciliary muscles, and it enables the lens to change its shape. So the ciliary body are going to move together with the suspensory ligaments, enabling the lens, this one, this part, the oval part, to change its shape. We will talk about that later. Then the suspensory ligaments also, they attaches to the ciliary body. Remember, everything is here. Everything that we are talking about is here. Just look in the square that I've just drawn here. So the suspensory ligaments are here together with the ciliary body. And it also helps to alter the shape of the lens. So the suspensory ligaments and the ciliary body, they work together. They perform the same function, that is to change the shape of the lens. We will see why this lens has to change the shape later. And then you have this opening here that we spoke about. This opening, it's just an opening. It is called the pupil. What does the pupil do? The pupil is an opening that allows light to enter. So this function is very easy. You know, when something is open, it means it allows something to enter. Then in this case, it is light. The pupil is an opening. It allows light to pass through. Then surrounding the pupil, remember we spoke about the colored part. We said it is the iris. Don't forget this. What makes your eye to be brown? What is it that you can use to tell? It is the iris. So the iris, it is a pigmented muscular structure. When we say it is pigmented, it means it has strong color. So it has color. So it has color. That is what we mean by saying it is pigmented. The iris is the one that gives your eye its colored part, or is the colored part of the eye. Then it consists of the inner rings that are called the saccular muscles. Very important. The saccular muscles, and the outer layer called the radial muscles. We are going to talk about those muscles later on. So the iris has those radial muscles and the saccular muscles. Radial muscles and the saccular muscles. Then, what is the function of the iris then? The iris function is to regulate the amount of light entering the eye. Here, we don't say that the iris is going to just allow light to pass through, but it is going to allow the certain amount of light. It will depend whether it's too much light or less light. The iris is going to determine that by changing or contracting its muscles or relaxing its muscles. Then it will control how much light needs to go into the eye. So unlike the pupil, where we say the pupil only allows light to pass through, but this pupil is just an opening. But this opening is controlled by what? The muscles around it. The muscles of the iris are the ones that are going to say, work together with the pupil to say, you people are allowing light to come in. But we can determine how much light we want to pass into this eye, or yes, how much light we want to pass through. So it controls the amount. Amount is how much light can pass through. Then you have the lens, the most interesting part. You have the lens here. This oval shape. This oval shape is called the lens. How is the lens structured? It is elastic. It is transparent. It is biconvex. So biconvex is talking about this shape. The shape is moving or bulging towards the outside. So it is biconvex. Convex on this side, convex on this side. That is where the bi comes from. Then it refracts light and focuses it on the retina. So its function is going to allow light to go straight into the retina. So it's going to direct that light to refract it into the direction of the retina where an image is going to be formed. So the function of the lens is to refract light and focus it where? On the retina. So if light is coming from all different parts, this light needs to pass through the lens, that the lens can refract it into the retina where an image is going to be formed. And then on the retina, there are two things that we did not speak about. You have the fovea centralis, or which is the yellow spot. This yellow spot is the one that has the cones. The cones, remember, we said the retina has the cones and the rods. Those are the photoreceptors. But where do you find the cones? Where do you find the rods? On the fovea, or the yellow spot, you only find the cones. The cones are the ones that enable you to see clearly. So the yellow spot here is where an image is going to be formed. Okay, image formed. An image is going to be formed on the yellow spot. And on the yellow spot, what helps it to be formed here? It is the cones. You only speak about the cones. And then when you come to the blind spot has no photoreceptors, meaning no rods and cones, and no vision occurs here. So here, no image at all. So the difference between the yellow spot on the retina and the blind spot on the retina is that on the yellow spot, an image is going to be formed by the cones because it has the photoreceptors, the cones. But on the blind spot, there's no image that is going to be formed because there are no photoreceptors. So there is no vision that is occurring there. And then when all this image is formed, and then remember we said the photoreceptors are going to convert it into an impulse. That impulse is therefore going to travel into the optic nerve. You see the optic nerve here? The optic nerve, then it carries the impulse from the retina to the cerebrum. Remember the functions of the cerebrum that we spoke about last week? So also when you want to see something, this information, the impulse is going to be carried from the retina by the optic nerve to the cerebrum. So that is your internal part of the eye. I hope you have taken note of all the different parts. Then we come to the next thing that we spoke about, which is binocular vision. What is binocular vision? Binocular vision is the ability to focus on an object with both eyes but creating a single image. Let us do a small, simple experiment. You can close one eye and focus on any image that is in front of you, whether the person sitting next to you or their board or what. So if you close one eye with your hand, you can still see an image, and then change that hand, use another hand and look to any image with one eye. You can still see that image, right? Then remove those two eyes, look at an image. Are you seeing two images from each eye? The answer is no. Why are you seeing only one image but each eye can see on its own? It is because of binocular vision. So binocular vision is the ability to focus on an object with both eyes but creating a single image. So as human beings, we need this binocular vision. Otherwise, our life was going to be very complicated. So if you take a look at these boxes that we have here. So you have this box. This is the original image. This eye here on the right is seeing this image. This eye on the left is also seeing this image. So if you were going to see like this, you are going to have problems. So your teacher there, standing there, you are going to see two teachers when there's actually one. So each eye will be seeing a teacher, a teacher. So we don't want that. So binocular vision allows us to say, yes, each eye is forming its own images, but the brain is going to interpret that as one image. So that is binocular vision. So our eyes are placed some distance apart. So because our eyes are each distance apart, they are able to create the ability to observe two separate images. But since each eye forms an image, the two images are combined to form a three-dimensional or a stereoscopic presentation of the object. So remember we said, why do we need this binocular vision? Can you think? Imagine if you were seeing double everything, right? So we need this binocular vision because it will allow us to see depth. Depth perception enables us to walk upstairs or downstairs. Imagine if you have to walk downstairs, you have to look down, you are seeing double, you are going to miss a step and fall. So you are able to have that stereoscopic vision that enables you to walk down the stairs and up the stairs without seeing double. So we need that binocular vision to help us not to see double when we are walking up the stairs or down the stairs. And it also allows us to have a wider field of view. So we can see a wider, more view than if you are viewing one thing and then it takes up space in your brain. Then it also gives precise depth perception. So you can see how deep is the stairs. When you have to go down the stairs, you can see how much you must put your foot down or how high you must sit. So you are able to see even without looking. So you are able to see that I have to bring my foot down like this and then another one like this, another one like this, another one like this. So binocular vision helps you to see in that way. So it also helps to perform skills such as catching. When someone is throwing a ball at you, imagine a ball is coming to you and then you see two balls. Which one are you going to catch? Because there's actually one ball coming towards you. So that can be very funny. So fortunately, we have this binocular vision to help us to see only one image from both eyes. Right. Moving on. Accommodation. Remember we said you need to learn about accommodation. This is one of the mechanisms that the eye is using to perform to help us to live our life. So what is accommodation? Accommodation is the focusing of the light on the retina. Remember we spoke about the lens. So if you see on this diagram here, this part that is changing shape, you see the one that is changing its shape? Watch. That is the lens. This one here. So we said this lens, it plays a role in refracting the light to focus it on the retina. So mammals focus by changing the shape of the lens. So this shape of the lens is the one that is going to enable us to focus. Then the lens is less convex for a distant object. When you are looking at something that is far, the lens is going to be less convex. What do we mean by less convex? It is going to be like this, very less convex, very slim. Yeah. Then the lens is going to be more convex for near object. When something is near, then the lens is going to be more convex. Then it's going to be thick. Please learn to use this terminology because when you are answering, we need to see these terminologies in your answer. So less convex means it is a bit slim, like this. It's a bit thin. And then more convex, it means it's a bit thick. But you do not use those terms. These are the allowed terms that you use. Less convex and more convex. So when you are looking at something that is far, the lens is going to be less convex. When you are looking at something that is in front of you, your book there, the lens is going to be more convex. Please remember that. Then, how does this whole story unfolds? Let us take a look. When we look at an object that is more than 6 meters away, this object we are going to look at this. Remember, you see the ciliary muscles are going to relax. We are only looking at this part here. We are only looking at these parts, which are the ones that are labeled. You see your ciliary muscles, you see your suspensory ligaments, you see your lens, and then, yes, those are the three parts. You must trace what is happening to the three parts. When you are looking at an object that is more than 6 meters away, meaning it is far. When it is far, what is going to happen? The ciliary muscles, check where the ciliary muscles are. They are going to do what? They are going to relax. They are going to relax, and when they relax, what happens to the suspensory ligaments? The suspensory ligaments are going to become taut, or they are going to become tight. When they are tight, you can just think what is going to happen to the lens, because the lens is attached to the ciliary muscles. The lens is going to become less convex, meaning it is going to become less convex. When it becomes less convex, then the lens becomes less convex. Therefore, the refractive power of the lens is going to decrease. Therefore, a clear image is going to be formed on the retina. Because you want to zoom in something that is very far, then it is going to form a clear image because the refractive power has decreased to accommodate that. Remember, we are talking about accommodation, to accommodate that distance, enabling you to see something that is far. How do you see something that is far? The ciliary body is going to relax. Then the suspensory ligaments are going to become taut or very tight. When they become very tight, they are going to pull what? The lens. The lens is going to become what? Less convex. And when it becomes less convex, its refractive power is going to decrease, therefore forming that image on the retina. Let's take a look at what happens on the opposite. On the opposite, when an object is 6 meters or less, or just in front of you, the ciliary muscles are going to contract. Now, these ones, the ciliary muscles, remember I said they indicate them as circles. They are going to contract, and when they contract, what's going to happen? The opposite, the suspensory ligaments, then when the ciliary bodies contract, the suspensory ligaments are going to slacken, or they are going to be relaxed. And when they are relaxed, the lens is going to also to relax, because there's nothing pulling it. When it relaxes, when the lens relaxes, then the lens is going to become more convex, meaning it becomes more convex or even more thick. And therefore, the refractive power of the lens increases because it is thick. And therefore, a clear image is going to be formed on the retina. So you are going to see it because it is accommodating that this is near. Right. So let us take a look at these diagrams to see actually what is happening to the lens and the suspensory ligaments. So these lines here, the red lines are representing the suspensory ligaments. So when the suspensory ligaments are tight, the lens it stretches also, it becomes less convex. But when the suspensory ligaments become slackened, on the right here, there at the top, it becomes slackened. The lens becomes more convex. So I hope you see that is how the ligaments are working. So then, that is not the only thing that the eye does. The eye also plays a role in pupillary mechanism. This one works to accommodate when there is dark light, or there is dim light, or bright light. So at night or during the day, what happens to the pupil? Remember, the pupil, we said, is that one, the opening, but it is controlled by the muscles that are found on that colored part of the eye, which is the iris. So this is what is happening. You see that opening, small, big, small, big. So it becomes small during the day, big during the night. What is happening? What causes them to react in that way? Right. So pupillary mechanism will be in this way. During bright light, you see the first diagram there. You see the colored part of the eye. This person would say would be brown-eyed, right? So the colored part of the eye there is the iris. And then the black part there is the pupil. The pupil during bright light, during the day, is going to be small. And then during average light, it's going to be a little bit bigger. But during dim light, it's going to be big. You see, the dark part or the black part becomes very big. Excuse me, at night. So what causes it to be this big? So the muscles that are found here on this brown part, they are the ones that are controlling how big or how, the amount of light that is entering. So how big the pupil is going to be or how small the pupil is going to be. Let us take a look at how that does that happen. Pupillary mechanism happens in this way. During bright light or in bright light, the circular muscles of the iris are going to contract. Which part is the iris? Remember we said the iris is the colored part. You see that blue part there? That blue part has the circular muscles. The circular muscles are going to contract because it is bright light. If you forget, take a look at this pink part here at the bottom. The first one says CC. What is CC? Circular muscles contract. So this is how you are going to remember it. You remember the process. Circular muscles are going to contract. That is the first thing that is happening. Then the radial muscles are going to relax. The radial muscles are these ones that forms like the rays. They are going in different radial or in the form of a radius. Right, those radial muscles are going to relax, meaning the circular muscles and the radial muscles always work in opposite. Right, so you see you have your second RR. So the first is CC, meaning the circular muscles contract. Remember, this is happening during bright light. Then the second part is that the radial muscles are going to relax. That is RR. Then for PC, the pupil is going to constrict, meaning the pupil is going to become small. Remember, this is during bright light. We don't need much light entering the eye. So the eye is going to control that by doing what? Circular muscles are going to contract. Radial muscles are going to relax. And when that happens, the pupil becomes small or it constricts. So you have PC, pupil constrict. That is PC. And then after that, the amount of light entering the eye is reduced, or you can say less light enters the eye because it is during the day you don't need much light entering the eye. Then that is your LL. Please write these letters down so you can remember the process in this way. So this is what is happening with your pupil during the day. And then what happens to your pupil at night? I want you to write this one for yourself. I left it out on purpose so you can be able to remember the process on your own. So the very same part, the pupil is involved, the iris is also involved. Let's see how now. During dim light, let's say you are entering a dark room or a semi-dim room. What's going to happen to your eye? The circular muscles of the iris are going to relax. So you have your first letters. Circular muscles, relax. Did you write that down? Just write it as the first letters. Circular muscles, relax. Then, what is going to happen to the radial muscles? The radial muscles are those ones that are going this way. The radial muscles are going to contract. You have this, your second set of letters. Radial muscles are going to contract. And then when they contract, what happens to the size of the pupil? That circle over there. The pupil is going to dilate, meaning the pupil is going to become bigger. When it becomes bigger, you can just guess what is going to happen. So your third set of letters, your pupil dilates. And then what is going to happen? The amount of light that is entering the eye is going to be reduced, or more light is going to enter the eye. Because it is at night, you need more light entering the eye. So because the pupil has opened widely, it's going to allow more light in order for you to see. Right, so more light is going to enter the eye. Write your last set of letters. I hope from today you will never forget these processes. Then we can do this activity on the eye. So the diagram below represents the structure of the human eye. Number 1, identify structure F. Number 2, state 2 functions of fluid A. 3, describe the structural difference between area B and area C. So I will give you 3 minutes for you to do this activity.
I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. Number 1, what do I want? Do I want to become an A student or do I want to become an average student? Number 2, I want you to ask yourself, how do you plan on getting there? Are you going to put more extra hours or are you going to just sleep? Number 3, who will be with you in this journey? Because it is important that we associate ourselves with students who have the same vision as us, who want to become a student, who want to put in the extra work, who want to become better at what they do. Unsuccessful people do not plan, they just let life happen to them. But successful people are planning on how they want their lives to be. And right now, you plan on how you want your results at the end of the year to be like.
Excellent. Excellence is a habit. Excellence is a quality you have, a quality I have. It's a quality we have when we honor what is true to us. Yes, we are gifted differently. uNkulunkulu akasinganga ngokufana. Excellence is striving for your best. Whenever you have a particular project, test, homework, uzibuze, ask yourself, is this my best? Can I put in more effort? Excellence is striving to be in the top 1% of the area in which you are gifted. And so I challenge you, in every single thing that you do, in every single area that you're gifted in, whether it's sports, it's academic, ucula, whatever that gift is, strive for excellence.
Right, that must have been very easy, ne? Because you've now studied all the structures and you know the functions. So let us take a look at the answers. Please check the answers of the people sitting next to you. Right, identify structure F. So what did you say F was? Did you say F is the iris? Let's go check. So here is your F. So this will be your iris and representing what? That colored part of the eye. Right. Then state 2 functions of fluid A. Come, let's check where is the fluid. Now, here's the fluid. A, see? The fluid that fills all the space here. What is that fluid? It is the last fluid there at the back. It is the vitreous humor. Right. So what is the function of the vitreous humor? There are many functions. So you can choose any 2 from these. So 1, it helps to maintain the shape of the eye because it is fluid. So if you fill water in a plastic, then that plastic is going to take the shape of that water. That water is going to maintain the shape. I hope you understand. So it helps to maintain the shape of the eye and also plays a role in refraction of light. Because remember, this light needs to pass from the lens here to the retina. So it's going to pass through this fluid. It needs to pass through this fluid. So the function of the fluid is also to refract that light. It is also it also allows the transmission of light. So it allows that light to pass through, to transmit, or let's say to pass. Yes, pass through. So you can remember this terminology. So it allows the light to pass through. Then it also prevents desiccation of structures in the eye. So it prevents the structures from drying out. It keeps them moist. And then it holds the retina in position. Also, the retina must be kept in position. Then the vitreous humor is going to help with that. It nourishes the eye. Remember, we said it gives the eye its nutrients and oxygen. And also it prevents mechanical injury in the eyes. So these are many functions. You can choose any two, but I hope you've written two. You have your two there. Now, describe the structural difference between area B and area C. Let us look at the diagram. Area B is this one here, and area C. So the other one must be a yellow spot, the other one must be a blind spot. And we did say what are the difference between the two. So area B contains a high concentration of the photoreceptors, which are the cones, meaning your area B is going to be your what? Your yellow spot. Remember, we did say on the yellow spot there are photoreceptors called the cones. Get it right, the cones only. Because if you write it consists of the cones and the rods, you are going to get it wrong. Then area C does not contain photoreceptors, no rods and cones, or an image cannot be formed here, an image can be formed here. So those are the different parts there. Then we can continue with this activity. Number 3, I will give you 2 minutes to do this activity. Number 3 says, describe the process of accommodation that takes place when an object is less than 6 meters away from the eye. Now, I want you to remember the parts that play a role when an object is away. Tell me about those parts, what they happen. Which ones relaxes, which one? You wrote this process. I'm giving you 2 minutes. Right. I hope you did write the letters as I asked you before, because then they were playing a very important role here. So let us take a look at what happens when an object is less than 6 meters away. You must take note of that in the question. When they say less than 6 meters away, what does that tell you? It means it is near. It is near. So what happens to the parts that we spoke about? The ciliary muscles, which are these ones, remember I said they always indicate them as circles. The ciliary muscles are going to contract. So you have your first CC. Ciliary muscles are going to contract. Then the ciliary body moves closer to the lens. Okay, there is an additional mark that you can get because this question is always 4 marks. Then the suspensory ligaments are going to slacken. The suspensory ligaments are going to slacken. So these ligaments, they are going to be slackened. So the suspensory ligaments, I'm going to draw it inside this eye, just follow it. The ciliary muscle is going to contract. Then the suspensory ligaments are slackening, meaning they are not straight. And then when they are slack, what happens? The tension on the lens decreases. So this is attached to the lens, remember. And then when the tension on the lens decreases, the lens becomes more convex. So if you can see this lens here, it is now more convex. More convex. It is not less convex. Then the light rays are then refracted more, or you can say the refractive power is going to increase. The refractive power is going to increase, therefore, to focus the light on the retina. So the light will therefore go to the retina. So this is when the object is near. So remember, you can still have the same. So all of this, this will represent this represents this is the lens. Same here, same here. So because this object is near, you must check first with the lens, how the lens is supposed to be. The lens is supposed to be more convex. Then you can tell us what happens to the ciliary body or the ciliary muscles. Then you can tell us what happens to the suspensory ligaments. Tell us what happens to the lens itself or the shape of the lens, and tell us what happens to the tension on the lens. Tell us what happens to the refractive power, and then later on tell us that light is going to be focused on the retina. That is how you're going to get your 4 marks. Right, moving on. And activity 2, the diagram below represents the structure of the human eye. Give one function of part E. Look at part E. Give one function of the part E. We've just spoken about part E. Then state why the clearest image will form when the light rays fall on part D. Part D, why will a clear image form when light rays pass here or they fall here? We've spoken about that. I will give you the answers, but please make sure that you go through this revision again on your own. Then explain one way in which part B is structurally different from part F. Now, part B is this one here. So you must check, is it the first layer, is it the second layer, the middle layer, or the innermost layer? So part B from part F. Where is part F? Part F. Okay, part F is this one. So what is part B? What is part F? Right, so what is the function of E? Can you say it to your teacher? Right. Part E, the function is to hold the lens in position. So you see, it holds this lens in position. It also connects the lens to the ciliary body. The ciliary body is here. Ciliary body, ciliary body. Then it plays a role in accommodation. How so? It changes its shape to accommodate the near and far vision. So those are the functions of the suspensory ligaments. So part E will be your suspensory ligaments. Then state why the clearest image will form when light rays falls on part D. Remember part D, we said it has what? It has photoreceptors. So it is the yellow spot. So this one is the yellow spot on the retina. So why? It has the highest concentration of cones. Cones only, not the rods and the cones. Then explain one way in which part B is structurally different from part F. Part B is the sclera. You see here, it is the outermost part. So it is the sclera. So the sclera, how is the sclera in its structure? Remember we said it is opaque and it does not allow light to pass through. Remember, we said it is not transparent, therefore it is opaque. It does not allow light to pass through, or you can say it is white. And then part F, which is the lens. How is the lens? The lens is transparent and it allows light to pass through. So those are the two main differences. And then you can say part B, it is the sclera, it is non-elastic. And part F, it is the lens, it is elastic. Remember, the lens is elastic to change its shape, but the sclera needs to be tight. It's very tight to maintain the shape of the eye. So that is the functions of those two parts. You can choose any for you to get your 4 marks. Right. And then activity number 3, with reference to the structures labeled A and B, explain the accommodation that will take place when the person is viewing an object close to him. So what is going to happen when a person is viewing an object that is close to him? So we have done a question on accommodation. This is just to recap for you. The suspensory ligaments are going to slacken. The tension on B is going to decrease. Then the lens is going to become more convex, and then the refractive power of the lens is going to increase. Remember, therefore, forming an image or a clear image on the retina. So we've done a question like this for when the person is close. But I would like us to do the second part. Yes, the second part, it says, explain what is happening in diagram 2. So this is diagram 2. You see, this initially, this is what the eye looked like from the start. And then it changes to this. So what is happening here? So I would like to give you 2 minutes for you to tell us, or just to go through the process that is happening here. This is very important. So you need to be able to say it or to write it down on your own. Tell us what is happening from this eye to change from how it was and how it is now at the end. So it changed from this to this. Just explain what is happening there. I am giving you 2 minutes to do that activity. Okay, right. Number 2 says, explain what is happening in diagram 2. Your mind must be telling you something that we've spoken about, that what happens when you enter a dark room. If your answer is somewhere close to that, then you are winning. Let's see what happens around your eyes. This is in dim light, because you were given a clue by what? by the size of the pupil. You see the pupil here is becoming bigger. So when the pupil is bigger, it tells you that this is in dim light or in a dark room. So you must have mentioned that for you to get that 1 mark. So this is in dim light conditions. What's going to happen? Remember, we are talking now about the radial muscles of the eye. We've spoken about, okay, I wanted to show you this earlier. So the radial muscles of the iris are going to contract. So you are going to say the radial muscles are going to contract. Learn to do these things on your own. So which ones are the radial muscles? I said the ones that are going like this. So these radial muscles of the iris. Remember, the iris is that colored part of the eye. So the radial muscles are going to contract. And therefore, the circular muscles, the ones that are circular, I think everyone knows what a circular muscle may look like. So circular muscles are these ones. The circular muscles are going to relax. So the circular muscles are going to relax. Circular muscles are going to relax. So when they relax, what happens to the size of the pupil? So let's say this was our pupil. I'm going to draw a red pupil just to show you that. Yes. So the size of the pupil is going to do what? It is going to dilate. The pupil is going to dilate. Please learn to use this word because this means the pupil is going to become bigger. But we don't want you to use those terminology. We would like for you to use the correct terminology. So the pupil is going to dilate. So the pupil is going to dilate. Then when the pupil dilates, what happens? The amount of light entering the eye is going to increase. So more light is going to enter the eye. So if you have it in this way, I'm telling you, you will never forget it for your exam. So this is what is happening in dim light. Remember, you talk about the radial muscles, you talk about the circular muscles, you talk about the size of the pupil that is going to become bigger because you want more light to come. And then you say more light is going to enter the eye and therefore you will be able to see, or an image is going to be formed. So I hope you excelled on this question. Right, moving on. We are coming to the next part of the presentation, which is the ear. Now, you have an ear. I hope everyone also, because you are listening to me, you can hear me through those ears. You see, there is a lot of processes that are happening for you to hear my voice. From the previous one, there were a lot of processes that were happening for you to see me. Then for this one, let us take a look at the parts and the functions. And then I hope you will be able to finish the processes next week or when we meet again. Right. So let us take a look at the structure of the ear. The ear is divided into 3 sections, or you can say the 3 parts. You have the outer ear. In this case, it is represented by the pink color. You see the pink color, all the parts that are colored pink represents the outer ear. And then you have your middle ear. The middle ear is represented by yellow, or is colored by yellow. And then you have your inner ear. So the ear consists of these 3 regions. So the regions are outlined in those colors as mentioned. So let us go through the parts also with the functions. So I would like us to go to the next image where we already go straight to the functions and the parts. So the first part that you see with your ear is the pinna. The pinna, the one that I can twist and turn, that has the cartilage. So this pinna here, its function, remember, it is part of the outer ear. Its function is to trap sound waves and direct those sound waves to the tympanic membrane. So everything that is happening surrounding you, the sound that is coming, that is going left, right, up, down, is going to be trapped by the pinna and directed into the tympanic membrane or the tympanium. So that is the function of the pinna. And then you have your auditory canal. Let us talk about the auditory canal before we get to the tympanic membrane. The auditory canal, when they say something is a canal, it's like a passage, you see, an auditory canal. So this canal here is going to transmit those sound waves to the tympanic membrane. So you see, because it is on the path towards the tympanic membrane, so its function is going to do what? Just to transmit those sound waves to the tympanic membrane. Now, let's come to the tympanic membrane. We are there now. The tympanic membrane is here, also known as the eardrum. So the tympanic membrane is going to transfer sound waves to the bones of the middle ear. It's going to vibrate because it's a very high vibrations membrane. It's going to vibrate and transmit those sound waves to the to the bones of the middle ear. I will tell you about those bones and their names. So from now, the outer ear, you have the pinna. The function of the pinna is to trap the sound waves into the tympanic membrane. But before you get to the tympanic membrane, you have the auditory canal. Then the auditory canal's function is to transmit those sound waves to the tympanic membrane. And then the tympanic membrane is going to vibrate and transmit those sound waves to the 3 ossicles of the middle ear. So we are done with the outer ear. Outer ear, only 3 parts. Then you come to and it is air filled. Very important. Please remember this. The middle ear is filled with air. So you see, even when you are moving, there's air that can go through your auditory canal easily. So the auditory canal, this is the function. It's going to transmit those sound waves to the middle ear or to the tympanic membrane, and it is the part that has that wax that we called cerumen, because there are glands there that are the cerumen is going to help to trap those foreign particles that may enter your ear, because it is an open passage. So there are glands there that secretes the wax called cerumen that is going to help trap those particles. Right. Then we come to the middle ear. The middle ear, we said it has ossicles. It has the 3 bones. So the 3 bones of the middle ear are called the ossicles. Ossicles are the 3 bones. What are the names of the ossicles? They are called hairs, or you can call them mees. So the most common ones that we use is this one, the first one, hairs, which is the hammer, the anvil, the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup. So those are the 3 ossicles. These are the smallest bones in the human body or in the human anatomy. You find them in the middle ear. And then they join from the eardrum. So if you take a look at this dotted part here, you see. So those are the 3 bones. And then you also find the eustachian tube. So let us take a look at the eustachian tube. Another name for the 3 bones are the malays, the incus, and the stapes. So you can choose which one is more memorable for you, whether it's the mees or it's the hairs, for the names of the ossicles. Then you can remember the names of the ossicles by the hammer, the anvil, and then you can also remember the stapes by this. It looks like a shoe horse. So these diagrams help you to remember the shapes. But if you remember the order, you will still be fine. The order is the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup. Right, so moving on, you find also in the middle ear the eustachian tube. What is the eustachian tube? It is that tube that connects from the middle ear into your throat. You will learn about you see here, it comes from the middle ear to your throat. Have you ever thought about why is it that when your ears are blocked and then when you open your mouth or you yawn, they pop open? So this is the part that enables you to do that, and also plays a role with the swimmers. We'll talk about that later. So the eustachian tube, you call it the eustachian tube. It connects the middle ear with the throat, and then it also it drains the excess fluid from the middle ear into the throat. So if there's more fluid here in the middle ear, it is going to be drained by the eustachian tube to your throat. But luckily, because when it goes straight to your throat, you can't taste it. There are no taste buds there. So it goes straight to your digestive system without you feeling the taste. Luckily for you. Then it also equalizes the pressure on both sides of the tympanic membrane. Very important. So it equalizes the pressure from this side, side number 1 and side number 2. So on both sides of the tympanic membrane, this eustachian tube is going to equalize that pressure. And then you come into the inner ear. What do you find in the inner ear? The inner ear is filled with fluid. So you are going to talk about the endolymph and the perilymph. Those are the fluids that are found in the inner ear. So the inner ear is a bit complicated, but if you trace the structures correctly, you are not going to have a problem. So the inner ear, the bony structure is filled with liquids, and it consists of the oval window. So you are going to check first. The windows are in the inner ear. Remember the outer ear, we've only spoken about the pinna, the auditory canal, and the tympanic membrane. And then we entered into the middle ear. The middle ear is where you find the 3 ossicles, which are your hammer, your anvil, and your stirrup. So, and then your eustachian tube. Now we are in the inner ear, which is fluid filled. The inner ear starts with the oval window. How are you going to distinguish between the 2 windows? Because we have the oval window and the round window. Always check. The oval window takes the shape that looks like an oval. But sometimes some diagrams may not depict it as or they may not show it as an oval. They may just check that it is the first one. The one that is on top is the oval window. Then it has the 3 semicircular canals. Those bones that looks like that are shaped in those weird shapes. Those are the semicircular canals. Semicircular, something that is semicircular, you know, the name tells you. Semicircular, 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 not full circular. So you look for these bones. These are your semicircular canals that you find in the inner ear. And then that is the most distinguishing part. And then you also find the ampulla and the cristae. So the semicircular canals, they have the ampulla and the cristae. Those are the receptors that you find in your semicircular canal. So the ultriculars and the circulars are found on those receptors. So you have the round bubble at the bottom of each circular canal is called the ampulla. So these round bubbles, these bubbles here at the end of the circular canals are called the ampulla. And then it contains the crista, which is necessary for balance. Just one thing to note, the ear is not only responsible for hearing, it is also responsible for balance, maintaining balance. Right. And then we move to the ultriculars and the circulars. The ultriculars and the circulars are these ones. These ones are at the bottom of the canals, between the semicircular canals and the cochlea. So these ones, they have the receptors called the maculae that are for balance. They are going to detect that you are changing the position of the head or direction or speed. Then they will help you to balance. So that is just hitting it on the headlines. You will go into details when you look at the functioning of the eye to maintain balance. So these are just the structures that you know are going to play a very important role in balance. Right. And then you find the cochlea. You can never miss the cochlea. The cochlea is a snail-like structure filled with fluid. And then it has the receptors called the organ of Corti. Now, the organ of Corti is found on the cochlea, and its function, it is going to do what? To convert the stimuli into impulses. Remember, everything now that needs to be converted into an impulse where the brain is going to interpret that impulse. So that impulse, once it is converted by the organ of Corti, is gonna go into the auditory nerve. The auditory nerve is therefore going to go where? It branches into 2. The auditory canal is going to go into the brain for the cerebrum or the cerebrum, for hearing, and then the cerebellum for balance. Then you find the two windows that we've spoken about. This is the round window, and this is the oval window. This is the round window. The round window releases pressure created by the oval window, right? And then this prevents echoes caused by distortion of pressure or the waves in liquid. So if you are swimming or what, so the round window is going to release that pressure that is created by the oval window. Then the auditory nerve, it's going to do what? It's going to go to the brain and transmit the impulses that are converted by the organ of Corti for you to hear or for you to maintain balance. So in Mind the Gap study guide, you are going to find these diagrams. Make sure that when you get to these diagrams, you are able to label the three bones. You are able to label the round window, the oval window, the eustachian tube, your semicircular canals with your ampulla, your cochlea with your organ of Corti, your auditory nerve, still oval window, round window, your tympanic membrane, auditory canal, your pinna. So that is everything. And then write the notes. Write the notes next to them as to what do they do and how do they look like, their structures. So this is a going home activity. Make sure that you are able to identify these parts. So I will leave you with this activity to identify or give one function of the parts A, E, and F. Thank you so much for joining today's lesson, and thank you for watching. See you again next time.